Hey everybody, welcome back to Pushing Pixels. I'm your host, Sam Nestis. Today we're going to do something different and fun. This is also for my Photoshop beginners class, so they can go back and watch this. This is a lesson we do in class. This is close to something I saw in a Photoshop user magazine, although I've changed it up a bit. And it has to do with this Annie logo from the Broadway show Annie. And we're going to start right here. I have a project that is, if I can get into Photoshop, there we go. This project is 11 by 5 inches. 11 inches wide by 5 inches high at 100 dpi. And I have two layers going. I have this text layer that says Annie, and I have a gray background. And from there, we're going to work from there and make something really nice. So let's get started. I typed this out in a font. I really couldn't find a font I liked, and I didn't like the Annie font, so I found something close and just rasterized the layer. Right-click, rasterize, type. Okay, so here we go. Let's get started. First thing I want to do is I'm going to start with the text right off the bat, and the first thing I want to do really is let's put a little gradient on it. Right out of the gate, we're going to use a gradient, and the colors we're going to choose are going to be kind of a very light pale blue, very pale. I want this to almost look like metal, so I'm going to pick a very pale blue and keep the rest white. Hey, that's great. Go away. No, close. Thank you. And we are going to use a reflective element on that. Going to be reflective, and I am going to use it in normal mode, and my reflection is going a little wonky. I think what I want it at is 90. Alright, and scale that down just a bit. There we go, that's a lot better. I don't know if you can see it really well. It's very subtle. I'm going to get my scale down. I have a sort of white band happening right here and the very pale blue top and bottom. So I have it set. I'm going to set it at 50 just to make it even. 50, and my angle is at 90, and my scale I might as well just do my scale at 50 as well. We'll just do it at that. Oh, by the way, I have my keystrokes at the bottom. Alright, so 50, 90 for an angle, and 50. And another thing we need to do is let's do a drop shadow. And we're going to have the light coming from up here in the corner, so I'm going to want the drop shadow to fall to the right. And I'm just actually going to reach in. I've clicked on drop shadow, obviously. And I'm just going to reach in and drag my drop shadow over to the left and down a little bit. I'm just doing this inside the canvas. And let's set the size. The size is a little brazen. I'm going to set the size to about, let's just set it at 25. That seems like a nice round number, 25. And my distance is set to 32. Let's just make it an even 30. We'll call that. And my opacity, let's set that to 75. Alright, and it's set to multiply, by the way. Always for multiply on drop shadows. So 75 for opacity, distance is at 30, size is at 30, spreads at nothing. And you should have something similar to this. One of the other things I'm going to do is put an outer glow on this, and this is kind of a little trick I do, just to sort of give this thing a little bit more volume and weight. The drop shadow does that, but an outer glow will also add to that. So I'm going to click on outer glow here, and you can already see if I turn it off, you can kind of subtly see it. It's a little bit not what I was looking for. So I'm going to get the size. I'm going to crank the size up quite a bit to say, let's say 40, and then I'm going to bring the opacity down to like 20. I just want this to be very subtle. So you can barely see it, but you can kind of tell it's there, and it gives it a little bit of weight and adds some volume to it depth-wise. Okay, one last thing I want to do here is I'm going to add a stroke, a very tiny stroke, a very tiny black stroke. So I'm going to click on stroke. Default there is 3. I'm actually going to set it to 1, maybe 2. Let's do 2. Black stroke on the outside, 2 full pixels. Black is the color. You can almost not see it. I'm going to click it on and off there, but it's definitely there. And we're going to need it to help sort of separate these elements a little bit. Okay, so that's all. I think we're done with this. Stroke, gradient overlay, outer glow, drop shadow. All right, I'm going to click OK and commit to that. Perfect. Alright, now we need another element behind it to sort of round this thing out a little bit more and give it some more volume. So I'm going to close that, and I'm going to call this, by the way, I'm going to call this just Annie text. I can call the background plate because it's the plate. Alright, a new layer right between Annie text and the plate. I'm going to go down here and click the new layer button, or you can go up to layer and click new layer. But I'm just going to go down here and click myself a brand new layer. And on that layer, we're going to put something kind of cool. Okay, so let's go to the Annie text layer. And I'm going to hold down Command and click the icon here on the layer. So I'm going to hold down Command, click. And that's going to bring up my selection set. Do that again for you real quick. Hold down Command key next to your spacebar and click the Annie text icon. And that'll give you your selection set. Now, one of the cool things we can do with this is we can play with the selection set and expand and contract it and do all sorts of things. So we're going to expand it. If you go up to Select, Modify, Expand, and we're going to expand this thing by 9 pixels. There we go. So now I have a 9 pixel expansion in the background, and that is not too bad to look at. So let's do something with that. Now I'm going to turn off the Annie text because we don't need it right now. And for this, we're going to do a gradient. And let's see how that's done. So over here in your color pickers, on your foreground color, just go ahead and click your foreground color, and I want you to pick a red somewhere. Not exactly 100% red. Maybe on the inside here just a little bit. I got like 231, 24, 24. Let's use that as a red to start with, okay? And then for the background color, let's leave it at black. So we have red and black, all right? And on our new layer that we just made there, underneath the Annie text, we're going to go to the gradient tool. So I'm going to hit G on my keyboard and hit the pull down up here so I can get my gradient. And I'm going to pick the first one because that's the colors we just picked. Foreground to background, red to black. Click OK, and with that I'm going to start up top here, just above the text, hold down my Shift key and drag straight down until I get that. And that's pretty cool. Not too bad. Alright, that's exactly what we're looking for, and if you turn your text back on you can kind of see what we're going for here. I'm going to turn that text off again still though, because we've got to work on this. Command D to deselect, because we're going to work on this now. And we need to add some layer styles to this as well. Let me get a drink. Okay, some layer styles. Double click your new layer here, this layer, and we're going to get the layer styles box. And first thing we're going to do is add some lighting to this, and we're going to do that with bevel and emboss. So I'm going to click on that, and by default it doesn't give me anything I want. So let's do a little playing around. I'm going to set my depth to 100. And that's not too bad. Let me see. I'm going to change my angle to, say, I want this to also be a little bit subtle. All right. Size, I'm going to bump. Let's do an inner bevel. Inner bevel. I'm sorry. Okay, inner bevel, smooth. I better get going here. Figure this out. Okay, I'm going to leave it at about 100 still. 100 seems good. Size, I want it to kind of look a little bubbly, but not too bubbly. Let's say size 3. Alright, so I got 100. I'm doing inner bevel smooth. Size 400. Size 3. Angle 45. Altitude, might as well be 45 as well. Screen at 100%. Alright, inner bevel smooth. 100. Size 3. 45, 45, angle and altitude, and highlight set to screen. Not too bad. Another thing I want to do on this real quick is give it a little bit of a gradient. So let's do that. I'm going to click on the gradient tool. Whoa, that's a lot. And not what I wanted. So let's go to our gradients here. And we're going to pick black and white. Okay? That's really what we want. And let's set it to, I don't even know if I really want to do this, but let's try. Let's set it to radial, and Maybe not. You know what? Let's skip that. I don't want to do the gradient on that. I think that looks pretty good the way it is, actually. All right, so let's just leave it at bevel for now. I think that's all I did on this. All right, and not too bad. I'm going to turn my text on. That looks pretty good too. All right, so having done all that, let's work on the background plate. We have this gray plate here. And we're going to put a gradient on it, but we're going to do it different than we did this. We're actually going to do this gradient in the layer styles. So double click on the plate layer, and we're going to do gradient overlay. All right. Actually, but yeah, let's do that. Gradient overlay, let's do that. And we'll keep radial. I'm going to set it to 150. And inside, I'm going to reach inside that canvas here and grab it and sort of move it over to the right. You can see what's happening right there. All right, so that looks pretty good, but we got to get some color happening. So let's click on the gradient colors, and we're going to pick two new colors. For the dark color, I'm going to click on this little box right here and activate it, and click on the color, and I am going to pick a blood red, a very, very deep blood red. Somewhere around that 6000. Okay, you can see it updating already. And then for white, I am going to pick just a regular old red, stock red right there. And click that. So we have a dark red there, a regular old red there. Click my opacity back to up, and you see the nice little sort of look I'm getting here. I'm going to move that over just a bit more. And now it's looking kind of cool, actually. And that's really all we need from the background. Nice little gradient. All right. Without the gradient, it's still gray. You can turn those effects off if you need to see that. All right. So what else are we going to do? Let's add a little smoke effect in between the red background here and this guy right there. So on a new layer above the plate, I'm going to click the new layer button. And we're going to call this fog, I guess. I don't remember what I call it in class. Learn to type would be great too. There we go. And on this blank layer, I'm going to fill it with gray. So Shift Delete. And I'm going to fill with 50% gray. And on that layer, I'm going to Filter, Render, Clouds. And I'm going to get that weirdo effect. And the reason I got red is because I really didn't want red. Let's reset our colors before we do that. Command D, or I'm sorry, just D. D will reset your colors to black and white. Now let's go to Filter, Clouds. That's what I'm looking for, that guy right there. And we need to see the red, so I'm going to set that layer's blend mode to Soft Light. Not too bad. And now I get this really sort of cool effect. Let's check overlay real quick and see what that looks like. I'm going to go with Soft Light. All right, so that's kind of cool. Now we got a lot of volume and some space and everything and some atmosphere. But the fog's a little bit too abrasive, so I'm going to tone it down a bit with a mask. So on that fog layer, I'm going to hit the mask button, third one from the right. All right, now I got my mask right there, and it is selected. It's got the white brackets around it. That's how you know it's selected. And I'm going to go back up to Select Filter, and I'm going to click the fog again. And that will sort of neutralize it. There it is with the mask, or without the mask. That's with the mask, and you can see it's a lot more subtle and a little bit nicer to look at. It's not so abrasive. All right, that's looking really good, and we've hardly done a thing. We're into 4 layers here, 5 layers, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 full layers. Let's add a 5th layer because I want to put something in the eye there, in the dot of the eye. New layer at the top, and I'm going to call this Girl Jumping. All right, and I am going to open up a file on my hard drive. I just happen to have this girl jumping. If I can find her, right? That's a good question. Where did I put her? Oh, wrong folder. That would help if I knew what folder. There we go. Okay, so I have this girl jumping. It's a PNG file. Not too bad. I'm going to peel these off and tile them a bit so you can see. All right, so I just need the girl, and it's on a ping, so she's on her own layer. And I'm going to hold down my Shift key and drag into my working document. And I don't need her anymore. No, thank you. All right, so I have this girl jumping, and I'm going to. We need to transform her, so Command T for free transform, or edit transform right there, free transform. And Command 0 will zoom extents. You can see down there at the bottom. And if I hold down my Shift and Alt key, I can constrain her. And I'm going to scale her down till she fits inside the dot of this eye. A little bit more. There we go. Let's go with that. Move her over. There we go. Perfect. Now, I don't want her black. I need her to be red, so let's change her color. Double click that layer, and we're going to do a color overlay on her. And I'm going to click on this little guy right here, and we're going to be able to select a color. And I'm going to select a red that's in her general area right here. Just right about here. That'll give me a nice red. Yeah, that'll work. All right, and I'm going to set that to normal mode, and she will turn red. There she is. One last thing for her, inner shadow, because I want it to look like it's cut out of that white part. So I'm going to click inner shadow, and that is not a bad drop shadow already. I'm going to actually keep that. Set to multiply, 84 for opacity, 4 for distance, 6 for size. Set the choke to 10. Alrighty, there you go. Take a look at that. Not too bad. And we have this nice, it gives a nice little cutout effect and drops a shadow on the inside, which is really nice. I'm going to click OK. That is close to the end. One last thing I think we need is some lens flares. So on a new layer with white as my foreground color, I'm going to press X. X lets you alternate your foreground and background colors, and I need white. I have this lens flare brush, and I am just going to add a couple of lens flares. And let's go to presentation mode. There you go, folks. That is your Annie logo from practically next to nothing, just a piece of text and a cutout of a girl, and you get this really nice effect. Okay, I hope you enjoyed watching, and have a good day. Thank you.